Welcome aboard, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here with you. Tuesday, November 5th, 2013. Tuesday, November 5th, 2013. Welcome aboard to another live edition of Fire Your MD Now, where we pull back the curtain on all things pertaining to medicine and inform you about the stuff that you didn't know about medicine. For instance, blocked arteries in the heart. Two things that cause blocked arteries in the heart. Number one is cholesterol. Number two is calcium. Now, your medical doctor, having no training, no experience, no appreciation, and no respect for medical nutrition, will tell people all of the time, incorrectly, that the thing that causes calcium to build up in the arteries is calcium, when in point of fact that is incorrect. The only thing that causes calcium to be deposited on the walls of the arteries is a deficiency in magnesium and the presence of inflammation in the artery. Inflammation in the artery is caused by the consumption of oil and fried food and exposure to free radicals. But your medical doctor will tell you that it's calcium, and they'll put you on a calcium-restricted diet, which will then give you a kidney stone, give you high blood pressure, give you heartburn, give you arthritis, give you restless legs at night in bed, give you inability to fall asleep, give you a tendency or an actual disposition to be anxious all of the time. Plus about 260 other diseases caused by not enough calcium. From the proper perspective, everything makes sense. Regretfully, the perspective that the MDs bring to bear on the pathogenesis of disease and the treatment thereof is old-fashioned, outdated, Machiavellian, monopolistic, and has nothing to do with anything having to do with reality except tangentially. Except tangentially. You can think that it's the Earth, that's the sun that goes around the Earth, but you'd be wrong. It's the Earth rotating on its axis, which makes the sun appear to move in the sky. You can draw data incorrectly from observation to support even the most nonsensical ideas. This is what the MDs do when they tell you that calcium is the problem with calcium deposition in the arteries. Oh, you have too much calcium. Well, how does that happen, Doc? How is it possible for me to get too much calcium? It's impossible for me to get too much calcium. My body needs calcium to do millions of metabolic processes every microsecond. Calcium is an extremely important nutrient to the body. It is virtually impossible to overdose on calcium. Can't do it. I'd like to see you try, for goodness sake. They'll also tell you that cholesterol deposition in the arteries happens because of cholesterol. Well, this is also a non-starter, because if it was cholesterol that was the problem, why doesn't cholesterol get deposited in the veins? Just as much cholesterol in the veins as in the arteries, so why does it only happen in the arteries? Oh, well, we don't know. It's probably a genetic predisposition. Well, that's a half-assed answer, because everything's genetic. Everything comes from chromosomes. Well, where did the chromosome come from? That's another question for another day, but everything is run by chromosomes in the body. Everything goes back to a chromosomal origin, so saying that it's genetic is, quite frankly, it's a write-off. It's a scapegoat. It's nonsense, quite frankly. It's intellectual juvenility is what it is. The reason that cholesterol gets deposited in the arteries is the same reason that sand builds up on the banks of rivers. It's fluid dynamics. Fluid dynamics. Ever notice, if you're a camper, that when you go camping, whenever the river bends, you're, meandering down a river in a canoe, or you're walking along the side of the river, and then the river takes a bend, there's always a beach at the bend of the river. There's always a beach at the bend of the river. Why is this? It's because of fluid dynamics. Sand and silt and the stuff that's getting carried downstream by the water in the river gets deposited on the sides of the river when the river takes a turn. There's something called an oxbow lake that can form if the river is carrying lots and lots of sand and silt and is traveling at just the correct velocity. What will happen is the sand piles up and 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 makes the river bend around in a complete circle. forming an oxbow lake. Fascinating stuff, fluid dynamics. Well, when you eat all the wrong foods all the time, when you eat olive oil, because the olive oil industry told you to, when you're a vegetarian and you eat salads 3 times a day and you put salad dressing on your salad 3 times a day, when you eat hummus that's loaded with oil, if you're Italian and you soak your bread in oil, if you put oil in everything that you make, or if you're East Indian and put oil in everything that you make, you are delivering to your body free radicals. Free radicals are oxygen atoms that have lost an electron, and they become extremely metabolically sticky. When an oxygen atom that's lost an electron sticks to something, what it sticks to becomes oxidized. When something becomes oxidized, it becomes destroyed. So, you eat all the wrong food all the time, and there are free radicals floating in your blood like sand going down the river. The free radicals are going to follow the same laws of fluid dynamics that sand and gravel does. So when you have a free radical in an artery, and the artery takes a turn, the free radicals pile up on the side of the artery, and they stick to the artery wall. Remember, whatever free radicals stick to become oxidized, so the wall of the artery becomes oxidized. Is this a good thing? No. It's a bad thing. You know why? What's in the artery? Blood under high pressure. Blood under high pressure. So as the wall of the artery begins to become oxidized, the wisdom of the body understands that you're going to bleed to death if the oxidation populates all the way through the wall of the artery. You're going to bleed to death because what's in the artery, not just blood, but blood under high pressure. Blood under high pressure. If the artery wall tears, you will bleed out. 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. You're going to bleed to death, and there's going to be no medical intervention in the world that's going to be able to save you because it will take the doctors 30 minutes just to get you to the hospital. Then they'll have to do exploratory surgery to find out where the bleed is, and by then it's too late. But your body has wisdom, and your body knows that the game is afoot. Your body knows that inflammation is happening. Your body knows that it must intervene lest you die. So the body bandages the site of inflammation. The body bandages the site of the tear. What does it use for a bandage? What it has an abundance of? Cholesterol. The body can make its own cholesterol. The body can make its own cholesterol. The liver makes cholesterol, so the body doesn't even have to worry about you eating enough cholesterol, because if you don't eat enough food that has cholesterol in it, it'll just make its own. So the body uses what it has an abundance of. It puts a cholesterol bandage down over the site of the inflammation. But what does this do? It creates a beachhead, which then, by virtue of fluid dynamics, attracts more free radicals to pile up right next to it. So you get more free radical adhering to the site around the cholesterol bandage, which causes more inflammation, which causes more cholesterol, which causes more free radical deposition, which causes more inflammation, which causes more cholesterol deposition, and finally the artery's blocked. Now, this does not happen in veins, because if there's oxidative damage to a vein, by the time that free radicals get to the veins, they've all been adhered to other tissues in the body. So remember, arteries carry blood away from the heart, and veins carry blood back to the heart. Free radicals are extremely sticky. So by the time free radicals enter into the bloodstream, they're in the arterial system initially. So they travel through the arterial system, and they stick to organs, and they stick to blood vessels, stick to arteries. By the time your blood flow switches from arteries to veins and blood starts going back to the heart, most of the free radicals are gone. But even if the free radicals do adhere to the walls of the veins, the body's okay with that, because if the wall in the vein breaks, what's going to happen? You're not going to bleed to death. You're just going to have a little bit of a black and blue somewhere in your body, but you're not going to bleed to death because it's not high-pressure blood that's in the vein. So you don't get cholesterol deposition in the vein because there's relatively little, if any, oxidative damage there, and what little oxidative damage there is not dangerous to the body, so the body gives it a pass. But your MD will tell you that cholesterol is the culprit. The MD will tell you to load up on cholesterol-lowering statin drugs like Crestor, which we bought $5 billion worth of last year, Crestor. Your medical doctor will overlook the fact that while we've been taking cholesterol-lowering medications for the last, 40 years, for the last 40 years, while we've been taking cholesterol-lowering statin drugs, the rates of heart disease and coronary artery blockage have remained exactly the same. We are not gaining on heart disease. MDs are able to manage it. They'll keep you alive after you have 6 or 7 or 8 heart attacks, whereas 30 years ago they could only keep you alive after 1. But they can't do anything to fix the problem, even though we take boatloads of cholesterol-lowering statin drugs in exactly the same time frame. Since we've been driving our cholesterol into the ditch with statin drugs, trying to get on the other side of coronary artery disease, which we have failed miserably at, Alzheimer's has risen from obscurity to become the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, and women who are menopausal now have hot flushes for 5 years instead of 5 months like their grandparents, and men all of a sudden have erectile dysfunction. What do all of these things have in common? Cholesterol. 95% of the part of the brain that's affected by Alzheimer's is made from cholesterol, and all of your sex hormones, whether you're a man or a woman, are made from cholesterol. So when you follow the advice of the MD and drive cholesterol into the ditch with statin drugs, fat-free diets, and exercise, your brain dries up, your hormones dry up, but absolutely nothing happens to coronary artery disease. Ladies and gentlemen, fire your MD now. Who's that sneaking around the back door? Big Pharma trying to get you to take more. More Abilify, more Nexium, more Cymbalta, more Humira, more Crestor. More, you need more, because your body doesn't have the ability to fix itself. Your body is just a coincidental amalgamism of biochemicals that randomly came together in an antediluvian swamp and that then were stimulated by a bolt of electricity from a passing cloud to form something that had life in it, and then life evolved from that, and there's no soul, there's no spiritual presence, there's no metaphysical anything. If it can't be measured, it doesn't exist. Your body does not have wisdom, your body does not have intelligence. All these things are fictions. When you're sick, your only option is to let the doctor throw into your body a man-made synthetic drug, the intention of which is to manage your symptoms. That's it. Or, you can have surgery. And if the surgery fails, we'll just do it again. I've had patients that have had 4 or 5 fake knees. One knee. They need to do it 5 times. They didn't even get it right after the 5th, for goodness sake. But because these people can do whatever they want, we are in a boatload of trouble. This in from Medscape Medical News: vitamin D like David deficiency linked to the onset of psychosis. Imagine that. A study of almost 140 participants in the United Kingdom showed that those who were presenting to a psychiatric inpatient facility had significantly lower levels of vitamin D than did their age-matched healthy peers. I quote, "What surprised us was the degree of difference between the patients and their matched controls, with patients being nearly 3 times as likely to have full-blown vitamin D like David deficiency," unquote. Co-first author John Lally, MRC Psych, clinical research fellow in the Impact Project at the Institute of Psychiatry in London. However, we still don't know whether these low levels of vitamin D have anything to do with psychosis or whether they're just coincidental. Well, nonsense. For goodness sake, right? When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and when you don't have a clue about medical nutrition, it therefore can't be anything of primary significance. This is why when naturopathic physicians are hired at cancer treatment facilities around the country, the naturopathic doctors are not hired to treat cancer. The naturopathic doctors are hired to dilute the blow, to soften the blow imposed upon the body by drugs, surgery, and radiation. Not to cure the cancer, but to make the patient a little stronger so that they can have a couple of extra doses of radiation or a couple of extra doses of chemo, because that's where the money is. Because medical nutrition could never be primary care. No, no, no. That's nonsense. Those nutritionists, they're back of the bus. They're back of the bus. They're back of the bus. Let's just keep them in back of the bus. We can't let them in the driver's seat. For goodness sake, nutrition. What, are you kidding me? Let food be your medicine? Who said that? Well, Hippocrates, the father of medicine. Well, huff and puff, huff and puff. That was 18 million billion years ago, and back then they all walked around in togas, and what difference does it make anyway? You can justify whatever you want, especially if all of your colleagues are busy justifying the same nonsense, and this is why the MDs are still in power, because they exist in a monopoly, and when you monopolize the medical theater, you can do whatever you want, because you legislate yourself into first place and you actively keep other medical professionals out of first place. MDs are not in the driver's seat of medicine because their therapeutics are better, because their therapeutics are more effective, because their therapeutics are less expensive. MDs are in the driver's seat of medicine because of financial and political coalitions that were built between the pharmaceutical industry and the government at the turn of the century that they don't teach you about in school. Want to read about it? Get my book. The MD Emperor Has No Clothes. You can download it to your Kindle for $10. Visit my website, fireyourmdnow.com. Click on the store button and get a copy of the book. Another excellent book is called, it's by E. Robert Brown, Rockefeller Medicine Man. Rockefeller Medicine Man. It's out of print now. Sometimes you can find it on eBay. It is a fascinating expose on the evolution of medicine in the U.S. And if you think it has anything to do with the public good, you have your head in the sand. It has everything to do with money, 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 money. Hardly any different from the oil industry. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the way out. I am the red pill. We're going to come back and talk to Kay in Georgia. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. This is Fire Your MD Now. Make a difference. Time to rise up, Longevity Nation. Time to enroll, enroll, enroll. I know a doctor that says you don't have to suffer with that. If I send you a link to this webinar, will you watch it? If I lend you this DVD, will you watch it? If I send you a link to this video, will you watch it? If I lend you this CD, will you listen to it? 10 times a week, and we will change the world. Let's go down to Georgia, see what's kicking with Kay. Hey, Kay, thanks for calling. You are live.
Thanks, Doc. I appreciate all that you do for us out here. So today I'm just the tour guide once again. I've brought Lamont out of Illinois or Missouri to the line. He wants to tell you about his bulging nerves and discs.
Lamont,
are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Lamont, thanks for calling. You are live. Hey, were you on that TV show with Red Fox years ago? Was that you?
No, I'm afraid not.
That's the only other Lamont that I know, although there is a Lamont, Illinois, right down the road from where I live. But I digress. Thanks for the call, Lamont. How can I help? What's up?
Well, I've been going to therapy for about the last 6 months. Prior to that, I was having injections in my back for 3 years, and nothing has seemed to help. Come to find out that I have a bulging nerve and also 2 pinch nerves in my spine, which causes me to, my legs and feet to go numb at any time. I can't stand perhaps over 5 minutes, and walking any distance is totally impossible. My legs go completely numb.
Okay, what's the quality of your sleep like at night in bed?
I have no problem sleeping.
You sleep right through the night?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and during the day, do you get sleepy after you eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
No, I do not.
Okay, so your energy is pretty good. Besides this particular... Now, was this condition, Lamont, definitively diagnosed as a bulging disc, or did they say, we're not really sure. We think it's a bulging disc. I mean, what did they tell you when this first started happening?
Well, I had numerous of MRIs and X-rays and all they do, and this is what they come up with. I've been suffering with this for almost 10 years, but here in the last 3 years, it's beginning to get worse.
Okay. Do you have anything else going on that's a problem, Lamont, like high blood pressure or heartburn or restless legs at night in bed or anything else really? The ringing in the ears, anything that's a problem?
Yes, I do have Meniere's.
Yeah.
But I've been at that for over 30 years.
Okay. How are your teeth? All right, go ahead.
Pardon?
Also what?
And I say also I do have high blood pressure. After all, I'm 74 years old.
Well, yeah, my colleague, Dr. Wallach, the founder of Youngevity, is 74 years old, and he's healthy as a horse. No high blood pressure, no Meniere's, no arthritis, gives 300 free lectures a year. I know that contemporary wisdom says that as we get older, the body starts to get worse, but believe it or not, Lamont, we have the genetic potential to live to 120 years of age. We do. We can make it to 120. But in the United States, we are the 52nd longest lived nation in the world, which means there are 51 other nations in the world in front of the United States in longevity. The reason that our health, one of the reasons that our health gets worse as we get older, and I mean, you're right. I mean, look around. Everybody that's over 50's got something, right? I mean, everybody that's over 60's got more. Everybody that's over 70 has 2 or 3 things that they're dealing with, and people just think this is normal and that's part of the ride. Well, the only reason that it is normal is because everybody is going to MDs for medical help, and medical doctors are not trained to be able to cure your disease. This is an eye-opening statement for most people, but it's the truth. Medical doctors, bless their hearts, are not trained how to cure disease. For goodness sake, they don't even know how to cure heartburn. They can't cure it, right? They can manage it. They can manage your blood pressure. They can manage your Meniere's, but they can't cure it. And it's kind of like painting over the mold in your basement, Lamont, that you can paint over the mold and you're not going to see it or, be aware of it for a couple of weeks until it leaches through the paint, and then you need to put more paint on it. Well, that's one way to handle the mold, and that's what the MDs do with drugs and surgery. A better way is to get to the source of the leak and fix it and replace the dry rot or the wet rot. That's the better way to do it, but that's never what happens in MD land. So from our point of view, Lamont, the Meniere's disease, the high blood pressure, and this bulging disc are all different arms of the same octopus, so to speak. They are all functions of chronic nutrient deficiencies in your body. Your discs in your spine, your blood vessels, and your inner ear have run out of the raw materials that they need to maintain their structural integrity. If you had a slow leak in your oil pan and your engine ran out of oil, the engine would seize. And there's nothing mechanically wrong with the engine, it just ran out of oil. Well, it's the same with the human body. When your blood vessels and your inner ear and the intervertebral discs in your back run out of the stuff they need to maintain their integrity, they start to break down. And then your medical doctor doesn't give you anything to fix it. They just give you stuff that attempts to manage the symptoms. And when it comes to this neurological pain, it sounds to me like they really haven't done a very good job, have they?
No, they have not.
Yeah, okay. So, we need to at least try something different, right? Because what we're already doing is failing us. So it would be a wise and prudent choice to take another tack here, to walk down a different road and see if you can't get some resolution here. What's your current weight, Lamont? How much do you weigh? What are you weighing in at these days?
I weigh 185.
Okay, so my recommendation, Lamont, as a little experiment, for 8 weeks, for 2 months in a row, as a little experiment, I'd like you to give these supplements a try for 8 weeks and look to see in that 8-week period if you get a purchase, if you get traction, if you get improvement in any area of your any of the areas that are bothering you. Now, in 8 weeks, you're probably not going to be able to experience 100% resolution of these problems. But if I'm right, inside of 8 weeks, you should experience something that's positive, something that's remarkably different than it was before. And once we get a little traction here, then it's just a matter of time until your body rolls around and fixes itself to the degree that it is able to in the time frame that it's able to. So here's what I would recommend you do for 8 weeks. Number one, you need to eliminate the 10 bad foods, and Kay will tell you what those are. There are foods which, if we eat them, promote nerve damage and promote damage to the discs in your spine. There are foods that you eat that will promote damage, kind of like throwing gasoline on a fire, right? That's not a good idea if you're trying to put the fire out. So, number one, there are 10 foods you need to stop eating. It's not that hard to do, and Kay will tell you what those are. Number two, the recommendation for a daily supplement or for monthly supplement intake would be 2 anti-aging healthy start packs, 2 anti-aging healthy start packs, 4 bottles of selenium, 4 bottles of selenium, and 3 bottles of glucogel at the 240 count. So 3 glucogel, 240, 4 selenium, and 2 anti-aging healthy start packs. That's a really, really, really good place to start. Plus, interestingly enough, I would like to see you start salting your food, Lamont. Are you using salt now, or have you stayed away from it because of the blood pressure?
No, I stay away from the salt.
Okay, well, that's a medical myth, and that myth is starting to be busted in the mainstream now. There were some Canadian doctors that a month ago came out and said, you know what, salt is really not a problem at all. We've been telling people salt is a perfectly healthy and important thing to take for 30 years, but nobody listens to us, regretfully. So my recommendation is start salting your food a little bit at a time with just normal iodized table salt so that your food tastes good. And then, look to see what happens, because there's no relationship between salt and high blood pressure. It doesn't exist. Certainly you can overdo it with salt. You can overdo it with water, right? But it's really, really hard to do it. I would start using salt again because your stomach needs it to have healthy digestion. So eliminate the 10 foods. Start using salt again. Take those nutritional supplements and give me a call back in about 4 weeks with a report. I sure will look to it. I appreciate the phone call, and thanks for giving me some time and also trusting my advice. Kay, is there anybody else today, or is that it?
No, Doc, that's it today.
All right, Kay, you're the greatest. Keep up the good work there. Hook Lamont up with supplements, and also give him the 10 bad food list, and keep up the good work in Georgia. From Georgia to Florida, we're just going down one state to talk to Dawn about an acoustic neuroma of all things. Hey, Dawn. Thanks for calling.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. What's going on?
Great. I'm calling for a friend. She lives in India, so I don't know if I'll be able to help her or if I'll be able to get the products to her. But anyways, she wanted some information. She was diagnosed with acoustic neuroma a few years ago, and through some follow-up, I guess it hasn't grown any worse with MRIs they've taken. But she has an MRI coming up this week. She's a little nervous. She gave me a list of symptoms that she has. She's 200 pounds. She has headaches in the sinus area and the back of the head, dizziness. She quivers if she doesn't eat. If she exercises, she feels dizzy. When she sits and stands, or if she's sitting and she stands up too quick, she gets like a vacuum feeling in her head. And kind of a long list, sorry. In the morning, she feels numb in her hands and sometimes her legs. Occasional tingling in her face.
Well, these are blood sugar issues.
Gassy feeling. What's that?
Yeah, some of these are blood sugar issues. Some of these are acoustic neuroma issues. So we're going to cut right to the chase here.
Okay.
What she should do for the first 90 days, 3 months, is 2 healthy blood sugar packs a month. 2 healthy blood sugar packs, and you might as well give her the 2.0 because that's the most up-to-date stuff.
Okay.
2 healthy blood sugar pack 2.0s a month. 4 bottles of selenium a month, and 1 extra bottle of the multi-EFA, 1 bottle of multi-EFA a month. Is she vegetarian, do you know?
I don't think so.
Okay, great. Well, that's a really good thing. So if she's not a vegetarian, then you can give her the EFA Plus instead of the multi-EFA. So that would be 2 healthy blood sugar packs, 1 bottle of EFA Plus, 4 bottles of selenium a month.
Okay.
And that's a really good place to start for her. Plus eliminate the 10 bad foods. And, you know, remember, when we start people on a holistic program, you want to counsel them to be mindful of everything that's going on in their body, not just their chief complaints, because often, you know, sleep improves, mood improves, energy improves before the knee pain or whatever improves. So, and it shouldn't be hard to get this stuff to her in India. Give it a try, Don. I appreciate your persistence. I just love that tune. Let's see if Jana Lynn in Iowa likes that tune. Hey, Jana Lynn, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Okay, thank you for taking my call. I have a question. I know someone who has cancer, breast cancer. Can she still take selenium?
Oh, yeah, it's mandatory.
Okay.
Remember, one of Dr. Wallach's lawsuits against the FDA allowed Longevity to secure something called the Qualified Health Claim, which allows us legally to say in a public forum that selenium supplementation significantly reduces the occurrence of breast cancer to 82%. So it's a big deal in breast cancer prevention.
Okay.
You know, in a perfect world, her medical doctor would have her on selenium. In a perfect world, her oncologist would have her on selenium. In a perfect world, a pediatrician would put every child in this country on selenium starting at birth. But it's not a perfect world, and so we have to pick up the pieces where we can. So unequivocally, yes. But remember, Janelyn, that selenium is extremely important for cancer prevention, breast cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer, and prostate cancer. And it's one of the 90 essential nutrients. There are 89 other nutrients which are equally as important for other things. And because everything in the body is connected, and the body is this one giant, living, throbbing, holistic organism, then the recommendation to support and promote the health of anybody's body is 1 healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per day and 1 bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per day. So we don't want to overlook the obvious nor throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So in a perfect world, to support and promote the structure and function of the body, we'd give the healthy start pack and the selenium, not just the selenium. But be absolutely, positively throw as much selenium at that as she possibly can. Does that
I
make
used
sense?
to take that years ago because I did hear it helped with cancers.
Yeah.
And I just kind of quit, but I'm starting in again. I'll have to go online and check out the products. Do they have an ingredient list or anything, or some of these things, or?
Oh, yeah. They all have ingredient lists,
Oh.
and that's a good point. You know, I think I've just been in this boat for so long that often I don't talk about the obvious. I've been involved with naturopathic medicine clinically for 25 years now, and for goodness sake, I used to work for a vitamin company that had their whole thing was extremely high quality control in the manufacture of their vitamins. I've been around the block when it comes to the manufacture and the generation of nutritional supplements in the United States. And the recipe of the nutritional supplement is everything, right? Nutritional supplements are really not that different from chicken soup. Well, what's the difference from one bowl of chicken soup to the next? The recipe is. So the recipe is very important when it comes to a nutritional supplement, whether it's going to work or work really well or work half well or work not really that great. Longevity's recipes, in my opinion, are the best recipes in the world right now, because Longevity's selenium recipe is informed by $25 million of federally funded research, 26,000 autopsies, 10 million blood chemistries and histopathologies, and 40 years of clinical work by the leading luminary of naturopathic medicine, Dr. Joel Wallach. Dr. Wallach's recipes there are no better nutritional supplement recipes anywhere in the world. And so if you're going to spend hard-earned money to get vitamins and mineral supplements, you might as well get the best. And in my opinion, Longevity's are the best. And I'll give you an example why. Longevity's selenium supplement doesn't just have selenium in it. It has anthocyanidins in it, which are also antioxidants. But most importantly, it has copper in exactly the right ratio. Because if you take too much selenium into the body, it will waste copper. And if you take too much copper into the body, it will waste selenium, kind of like the relationship between calcium and magnesium. You need both in the right form and the right ratio. Well, we've done all the heavy lifting for you. We've done all the research. We've done all the formulation. And honest to God, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Check it out. The website you want to go to, fireyourmdnow.com, fireyourmdnow.com. Click on the Buy the Supplement button and point and click your way to health. Thanks, Janelyn. I appreciate the question. Ladies and gentlemen, hour 2 coming up at 6 after the hour. Don't even think about touching that dial.